Welcome to Employment Relations and to this module where we will examine terminations gone awry and the consequences for both the employee and management. The instructor today is Tanzia Saunders. So today's lesson is a follow-up on the previous module where we examined terminations, best practices to ensure legality and fairness and the appeals process. Let's face it, no worker wants to be terminated. A job is an employee's livelihood, a right, and must not be taken in a willy-nilly fashion. Equally, management has the right to terminate employees for gross misconduct and will definitely not be pleased to reinstate and pay damages to someone they have had to terminate in the past. From the perspective of an employee, can you imagine being terminated unlawfully and unjustifiably? Think about that. An employee has to mount an appeal, and if the courts or arbitrators determine that management was unfair and relied on illegal practices to terminate the employee, then the outcome is that the employee will be reinstated or paid damages. Can you imagine how management will react to having to reinstate a bad worker, and the message it sends to onlookers and the implications this can have for workplace governance? Come, let's explore this week's modules on terminations gone awry. The goals of today's lessons is to explain the consequences that flow when terminations are deemed unfair and unlawful. We will discuss the outcomes for both the employee and management. It is hoped that students will be aware of the consequences and therefore be inspired to effectively undertake fair and legal terminations in their capacity as a manager. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to explain the consequences that flow from unfair and illegal terminations. Students should be able to justify the importance of ensuring terminations are fair and legal. Before you delve into the content and activities, let us have a look at a true-to-life story about Judah and MMC Holdings. Judah, you're fired. This is unfair and illegal. I will definitely fight this. I was fired and I want my job back. What should I do? Well, I did a course in employment relations, so my advice is to appeal the termination. Appeal? What is that? Can I return to work while I make an appeal? Well, a panel will determine if your termination was lawful and fair. You won't be allowed back on the job while you make the appeal. Can you explain the appeal thing? You have two options. 1, internal appeal. 2, external appeal in the form of litigation, which is in the courts, and arbitration, where you go to the labor board and a panel of arbitrators will determine if your termination was fair and legal. I will just tell you what are the moons and perspectives of the worker versus the management in a situation where the worker has had to be reinstated. I have been reinstated. I'm elated. I'm so bad and management does not know how to discipline me. Grrr. So the bad worker returns. I'm furious and had to pay him for time off the job. I will have to fire our HR manager for this messy termination process. Now I'll have to explain to the board what transpired. So Judah is back on the job. You know why? Well, we failed in ensuring due care in terminating him. The courts ruled we used unfair procedures and did not comply with the rule of law in carrying out the termination. Well, going forward, we have to revise our termination procedures, comply with the law, and hire a more competent HR manager. So, consult your course page and ask yourself this question. How would you explain to a peer, a CEO, or an organization where you're hired as the HR manager why it is important to ensure terminations are fair and legal? Your next steps? Move on to the knowledge check quiz, the discussion and activities. This is the end. I see you soon. Please feel free to consult me on any area that you need clarification.